Hey there, this is Alicia from AliciaCarlson.com, and this one is for you if you are brand new to working out and brand new to eating right or eating healthy. I want you to get excited about trying something new. I know how scary it is to be on the other side of your goals and kind of looking at and thinking about all of the changes you're going to have to make. Maybe you don't know where to start, or maybe you've heard horror stories, or maybe you've tried things in the past and you've failed. But I want you to get pumped about starting a new movement regime, about implementing some new healthy habits. Let's get started off on the right foot. This really is more about just helping you see what's possible for yourself. I'm going to give you some practical strategies and tools that you can implement so that you can head into this new phase of your life, this new season of movement, and implementing some healthier habits in a way that makes you feel excited and makes you feel confident, and you are sure that you're going to be able to stick with it. Because honestly, what good is a workout program or a meal plan if it's not something you can do, well, forever? So tip one, I want you to start small. I want you to set some measurable goals, but I want you to keep in mind sort of those bigger dreams and those bigger aspirations that you have for yourself. What gets you excited to do that you feel like you can't do now because of whatever? Because maybe you don't feel healthy enough, you're lacking energy. Maybe you have these perceived beliefs about living in a different body that would enable you to get out there and get after the dreams that you really want to be pursuing. So think about those things. Keep in mind that your environment strongly influences the action that you're going to take, and it strongly influences your ability to be consistent. So making some small tweaks to your environment can be incredibly helpful. At the end of the day, if you have goals that are related to improving your health or your relationship with food or including more movement into the day, you want to make your environment as friendly and as conducive to those things as possible, while also kind of decreasing those obstacles and those things that continually get in the way of you showing up consistently. Think about what small changes you can start making to your environment. Maybe that's going through and kind of removing some of those trigger foods from your cupboard. Maybe that's setting out a pair of tennis shoes by your bedside at night so that when you wake up in the morning, you've got your tennis shoes on or your tennis shoes out. Maybe you've got a pair of sweats or something like that, and you're ready to get up and kind of get moving first thing and foremost. I know for myself, when I was first starting out, the longer I would wait to try to get my workout done during the day, the more chance it was likely not going to happen. So if you can kind of set yourself up, at least in the beginning, while you're building a habit, to get it done first and sort of out of the way, that's going to make it a lot easier for you to be consistent. And eventually you'll get to that place where it's just a part of your day and you know that you're going to get it done kind of wherever you put it. But I would say definitely in the beginning, when you're first getting started, you want to make it as easy for yourself as possible. We touched on this in the last video, but action precedes motivation. So even if it's just one small step in a better direction, that's going to be better than not doing anything at all or than staying the same. And when I say better, notice I don't use the words like healthier versus not healthy or good versus bad, in the sense that we want to start looking at everything on a spectrum. So I don't live by food rules anymore. I don't have foods that are, off limits, or foods that are good or foods that are bad. I try to think about my goals. I think about my intentions. I think about how I want to feel from like a physical standpoint, mentally, emotionally, and all of those kinds of things. And then I start to make my decisions based on what I believe is going to get me closer to feeling that way. And I know through eating certain foods that some don't really agree with my body, or some don't make me run quite as well. So I try to limit those, or I think about, how could I take a certain food and just make it a little bit better, something that aligns a little bit better with my goals, with my values, and with my vision. Another thing that can help is setting routines and rituals. So if you are not in the habit of having a certain morning routine or an evening routine, or even routines kind of around when you're planning on moving or anything like that, you want to start thinking about how you can incorporate more structure into your week. Now, for me, I always envisioned myself as being kind of adventurous and that free bird. And so when I thought about routines and rituals, I thought about rules, and I thought about not having fun, and I thought about restriction, and immediately I just kind of wanted to rebel. But the truth is, the more routine I've gotten, the more that I have stayed consistent with rituals and have kind of created a schedule and a flow for myself, the better I feel. I feel more confident. I know that I have more control over my environment and ultimately over the goals that I'm reaching. And I don't feel like I'm always just trying to run around putting fires out. So if you don't really feel comfortable with routines yet, I want to challenge you to lean into that. Maybe explore why it is that you don't like routines, and basically just kind of get comfortable with being uncomfortable while you are creating these routines for yourself. I promise you it will make it so much easier. Remember, change is always painful in the beginning. That's just a fact of life. So you've got to kind of lean into that pain a little bit. You've got to lean into that discomfort. I want you to really think about exploring what it is that's causing that discomfort in the first place, and just start to explore that and see what comes up for yourself. That's not going to be easy, because usually we just want somebody to give us a plan, to give us the meal plan, give us the workout program, and we'll be off on our way. But as we have seen with diet after diet or New Year's resolution after New Year, that program or that protocol doesn't work. So we've got to be willing to kind of lean into that discomfort a little bit and start to question why it is that we feel like we keep getting stuck, or why it is that we have so much resistance to making certain changes, or why it is that we perceive having self-control and discipline is such a bad thing. I believe everything kind of comes from the heart. So whatever intention or whatever place in my heart that I'm coming from, that's really going to drive everything else. If I'm coming at things from not being enough, or needing to reach these goals so that I can be perceived as being more valuable, then naturally I am going to have a really hard time doing anything that I need to do, even if the actions are exactly the same as somebody else. I've got to get to the heart of the issue. I've got to get to my thoughts and my beliefs and really start to dig in and kind of change that before I can make lasting change. And the truth is, that's how it's going to be for you too. If you continue to try to do the same thing from the same place, you're going to get the same results. So you might want to take that look inside of yourself and figure out what changes need to happen in your heart and in your mind so that you can really move past that and get unstuck. Last but not least, face your fears. So this one kind of ties into that last one. Change can be scary. Exploring ourselves and our minds and maybe past hurts, that can also be scary. But I want you to really get comfortable with exploring those things and face your fears. Are you afraid of failing? Are you afraid that you might lose friends or lose relationships if you were to make a change in your lifestyle? Are you afraid that people are going to look at you differently, or they're going to judge you if you don't reach your goals? There could be all different kinds of things, all different kinds of thoughts and feelings and fears sort of floating around. So it's worthwhile to just take some time to explore that a little bit. Dream big for yourself. At the end of the day, you get to decide what it is that you want for yourself. You get to decide what your values are, what's important to you, and you get to set the goals for yourself. I want you to not be bogged down with tons of information out there. I want you to just simply get started. Think about what it is that you would do if you didn't have these barriers. If you were living that healthier life, if you were taking better care of yourself, if you could do all of that stuff automatically without having to think about what you were eating, when you were eating, the workout that you were supposed to be doing, or if you weren't busy beating yourself up for not doing those things, what would be possible for you? I want you to start thinking about that and dreaming about that, because that can be your reality. You don't have to live with food rules or food obsession. You don't have to live with the guilt and the shame of eating things that you feel like you shouldn't be eating. You don't have to live with guilt or shame around the body that you're living in. It's time for you to start embracing where you're at while you set the goals and you set the vision of where you want to be. And it's time to just start dreaming big. Keep in mind, it's those small goals reached consistently that's going to build confidence. It's kind of like a snowball effect. The more snow you start to add, the more goals you start to reach, the more belief you start to have in yourself. You start to see what else is really possible. So just stick with it. Stick with those small goals, keeping that big vision in mind, taking that daily action, and you will be motivated. You'll be well on your way in no time. Why not start with a clear and clean slate? We have so much diet information out there, so much health and fitness information out there. In fact, a lot of us don't even know that we still struggle with diet-related mindsets. That is why I've created a free guide for you. You can grab that over at aliciacarlson.com. I will also link to that in the description below. Click that, pick up your copy, go through that guide, and really get in touch with what diet mindsets you still struggle with. Take the time to do the little exercises there so that you can get started with a clean slate. Let me know how this helped you today. You can also leave me a comment below. I can't wait to connect with you again. Have a great day.